Hello again there guys, and today we're going to be making the Destructible Blueprint. So this is going to be the blueprint that spawns the collectible actor that we've already made previously. As you can see, I'm in the level that I created in the last video. Nothing's changed. I just thought it'd be nice if I just carried on making my tutorials in this level and maybe populate it a little bit afterwards with my destructible meshes. So the first thing that we're going to do for this destructible mesh tutorial is we're going to go down to our models, and I'm going to use a barrel, and that's the destructive mesh that I'm going to create. And in order to make a destructible mesh, if you select the barrel, right click it and go to create destructible mesh, we're going to click that and we're brought to like the destructible mesh window now. So as you can see, this is the barrel that I've just selected, and there's going to be a few options that I'm just going to talk you through. The first one is the cell site count, sorry. And this basically means how many pieces you're going to fracture your mesh into. So the more, obviously, the more grand it's going to look, more pieces, but obviously the more you do, the more expensive it's going to get. So just for this tutorial, I'm going to do about 15, fracture the mesh again, and if you use this scrub bar at the top, you can kind of see how the barrel is going to explode. Cool, so that's the first thing that we've got done. The second thing is there's going to be a few options that I'm just going to tick in this mesh, or untick and change. These are things that I've just found that work best for my destructible meshes. You can feel free to fiddle around with the values yourself. The first thing I'm going to do is enable impact damage. I'm going to leave these 4 values all default. The debris lifetime minimum, this is basically the minimum amount of time the debris will last. So I'm going to change the minimum to 4 and the max to 6. So the barrel will last between 4 and 6 seconds once it's been broken. Inside the flags, we want to tick accumulate damage, world support, and debris timeout. And then in the hierarchy depth, we're going to leave support depth as 0, minimum fracture is 0, but we're going to tick enable debris, and we're going to change this -1 to a 1. Make sure you press enter, because sometimes it does change back. So if anything does go wrong, just check this number first, and if it's a -1, change it back to a 1. And as you saw probably, when we fractured the mesh, the inside material has got the UE4 checkered material. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop down the skeletal mesh materials, and in the second folder, or the number 1, you can see that there's the world grid material here. So I'm just going to change that out for another wood material, I think. Barrel. I'm going to try the fence. Fence wooden. That's actually worked pretty well, to be honest. So I'm going to use that one. And that's it. That's your destructible mesh done. So I'm going to save that, and I'm going to close this window. If we go back to our models, you can see that the destructible mesh will be saved next to the mesh that you made destructible. So mine's next to the barrel. And what I'm going to do is I've already made a folder called smashable objects. I'm going to move my destructible mesh into smashable objects. That way I'm keeping everything new that I'm creating in somewhere that I know where I've put it. And if we're making the destructible mesh blueprint, we might as well keep the destructible meshes in that same folder. So we've got our destructible mesh. Now we want to right click in this window, blueprint class, and actor. And I'm going to call this destructible barrel. Cool. Right click, save that, and I'm going to open that. So now we've got this blueprint window. So we've had a bit of a look in this before when we made the collectible last time. This time, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to select our destructible mesh. We're going to go back here and we're going to add component. And we don't want to add skeletal mesh, but if we scroll down, eventually we'll find inside physics a destructible item, and we've got the barrel that we selected. For you it could be something else, but for me I'm going to choose the barrel, and in comes the barrel into the window. And I'm going to drag this and make it the root, so the barrel is now the root. I've had a few issues in the previous when I've been making this, in that the barrel, you don't always get to overlap it when the meshes pieces are on the floor. So to solve that problem before we go any further, I'm going to change its collision preset to custom, and I'm going to make it ignore pawns. That means it'll ignore the player. But because we're doing that, I'm going to add a box collision around the mesh. So if we scroll down in here, I'm going to add box collision, and I'm just going to throw this so that it roughly fits the barrel. Cool. And in here I'm going to click custom, and as you can see everything's on overlap, but we're going to change pawn to be block. That way it's going to block the player. Pile, save that. Let's just check this. So if we drag this into the world, we should see a barrel that spawns, which we do. And if we press play, equip the hammer, the destructible mesh, as you can see it did destruct, but because we've not added an impulse in there, it kind of just crumbles by itself. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a component, and we're going to add a radial force actor, and I'm going to call this hammer force. So now at some point we're going to, when this mesh is destroyed, we're going to trigger this so the pieces explode outwards. One thing you do need to check when you add a radial force actor is that it's not on auto activate. Otherwise, as soon as you press play, the radial force actor is going to fire and it's going to explode before the players even had chance to interact with the barrel. Compile and save. Okay, we're also going to use this hammer force as a location where the gems will spawn. So in order to do that, we'll just be getting the location of it, where it is in the barrel. So I'll talk you through that in the next stages, because we've got everything that we need in order to progress in the event graph now. So if we go into the event graph, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to click on a destructible barrel, we're going to right click, add an event, and add an event on component fracture. So now when the barrel is fractured, it's going to do this set of events. So we only want it to do it once, so if you hold O and click, you're going to bring in a node called do once. Alternatively, you can just type in do once, and you can add it there. But O and click does work, and the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to drag in our hammer force and we're going to activate it. Now what we want to make sure is, in hammer force, we want to make sure that these aren't too extreme. So impulse strength 1000 is probably a bit too extreme. I'm going to drop this down to 150. The force strength I'll go to 25, and destructible damage I'm going to also do is 25. You guys can have a fiddle with those amounts if you want it to be in a more aggressive explosion. Compile, save that, go into the world, I'm going to press play now. Equip the hammer. So now, hopefully, when I hit, it still didn't crumble. So we're going to up those values a little bit more. There's also the chance that this box collision is stopping the barrel explode outwards. So I'm going to drag this collision in, and once the box has actually been destroyed, we're going to want to set collision enabled. But we're not going to enable it. We're going to have no collision. So I'm going to swap these round so that the first thing we do when the box is destroyed is turn off that collision box, and then we're going to fire our pulse. Compile, save, play. So now, third time lucky, we're hoping the barrel is going to explode outwards, and it still doesn't. The second time it does. We'll just twiddle with those values a little bit. Hammer force, impulse strength 300, force strength 150, damage 150. Compile, save, play. It's a little bit better, but we'll leave it for now. Like I say, you guys can tweak with the values as much as you want. So we've got the barrel destructing on a hammer hit. Pretty much the main purpose of Hammer Girl, to be honest. But now we want to know if the barrel should spawn some gems. So in order to do this, we're going to create 3 variables. The first one is going to be called spawn gems. That is going to be a bool. The second one is going to be called gem amount. This one isn't going to be a bool, but it's going to be an integer, and we're going to make it visible so that this is the amount. So if you just compile, if we click on our barrel, we're going to be able to set the gem amount in here. So if we put 5, the barrel will spawn 5 gems when destroyed, and so on. And a third variable, this one's going to be called spawned gem amount. Now I'll go through how to set these up and talk you through why they're necessary. First of all, just compile and save. So we're going to use the event tick here. The event tick can get quite expensive depending on what you're doing. It will be alright for our barrel, but just do be careful when you're using the event tick. You don't want to be running anything that's too strenuous over and over again. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a branch. Now you can either press B and click, that will create a branch, or alternatively you can right click, type in branch, and you can add it through there. So I'm just going to plug this in, and we're going to check to see if we need to spawn gems. So if true, we're obviously going to want to spawn gems. So we're going to type in spawn actor, and we're going to go spawn actor from class. Now this actor that we're going to spawn is going to be our collectible blueprint. So if in the class you drop down, we're going to choose collectible. We're going to choose that, and now what we want to do is we want to spawn the collectible, if you remember, on the location of Hammer Force, which is the radial force actor inside the barrel. So we need to get the location of this Hammer Force. So if we drag it in, we want to drag off and get transform, get world transform. So this will get the world location, rotation and scale of the radial force actor for us to call. We want to break this, so type in break, and that will give us the 3 values, and we only want to change the location. In order to attach it over here, as we've broke it here, we need to do something called make transform over on this side, make transform. So now you can see our 3 values, and it's only the location that we need. But if we had the same location for every spawnable gem, it'd mean that they'd all spawn on top of each other. So we're going to make it a bit random. If we drag off the location on this side, type in vector plus vector, so we want a vector plus vector, we'll get this value, and we're going to split this bottom pin. First of all, if we plug the location into this one, so now it's going to get this location, and we're going to add it to this location. But like I say, we want to make it a bit random. So if we right click, we want to type in random float in range. So this means we can have an offset of a certain amount of number, so that it will spread out the gems over a distance, rather than them all being spawned on the same point. So just for now, we're going to do minus 150 and 150, and we're going to Control W that, make a duplicate, and we're going to plug it into Y. We're not going to plug it into Z, because there is a chance that that would mean that they'd spawn underneath your map, and would obviously mean that the player wouldn't be able to collect the gems. So we just need those 2 values, and now that side's done. So we compile, save. So what we're saying here is, if the player needs to spawn gems, spawn the gem on the hammer force location, but we need to know how many gems we're spawning. So if we get off the spawn gem amount, we drag this into the world, we're going to get it, we're going to plus plus, we want the incremental integer. So this, we've used this before, it just means it's going to keep adding 1 to this number, which is currently set as 0. So it will keep adding 1 until it reaches the gem amount that you've set in the world. So if we drag in the gem, we want to get that, and then we drag off this, and we're going to plug this into here, and the other, should put this one at the bottom to make some neat routes. I don't know about anyone else, but as soon as I started using blueprints, I kind of generated an OCD of neatness about how things are placed together. So now that will keep adding 1 to the spawn gem amount until we reach the gem amount that you've put in the level. When we've reached that amount, we're going to get spawn gems, and we're going to set it no longer true. So it will stop going through this process. And if it's already false, we're going to add a short delay of 0.5 seconds. This is going to go into here as well, and we're going to destroy our collision box because we no longer want it to be in the world, because otherwise the player will bump into it even though they've technically destroyed the barrel. So that's all set up there. We're going to file save, but we need to do a small additional part of code up on this part here. We need another branch, so B and left mouse click, drag this into here. We're going to right click, we're going to equals, oh sorry, if I get the gem amount first, get equal, so if this is equal to 0, so if it's false, we want to check. Let's check to see if we have to spawn gems. And that's it. That is all the blueprinting that you will need to do for this destructible mesh. So, fingers crossed, if we compile, save, go back to our level. If I'm going to press play, so there are no gems set at the minute, so this barrel shouldn't spawn any gems. I'm going to smash it, and no gems have spawned. I'm going to escape. I'll make a duplicate of it. I'll make 2. This one I'm going to spawn 5 gems, and this one I'm going to spawn 2 gems. Press play, equip our hammer, so this one should spawn 5, oops, if I hit it, and we're going to collect those 5 gems. Now as you can see, the gems are coming out larger than they are in our collectible, and that's to do with this scale here. Now I'm just going to set this to 0.5 and halve the size because it looked like it had doubled-ish. If you guys want to play around with that, feel free to. Maybe make mini gems or massive gems. It depends, because the destructible meshes can be, like we say, whatever you want. So if you want to make the destructible mesh a house and the player 10 times bigger, these gems could be 10 times bigger as well. So it's up to you how you play around with that. But I'm just going to save, press play, get the hammer out, and smash the barrel, and that's a better size for me. 5, and hopefully 2 appear in here. Yeah, 2, 7, and there should be none in here. Boom. Cool. So that is literally how to make a destructible barrel collectible, and that's how we've been populating our levels and making the areas a bit more fun to search around. What I will do is I will make another video of me progressing with my level and just showing you how I build it up with assets such as an art pass, how I piece together some of the level blueprints such as trigger volumes, matinees, stuff like that, and I'll talk you through that. That'll probably be another lengthy video, So that'll probably be my next video before I do the NPC actor. But just before I leave you today, I'm going to show you how easy it is to make a different destructible mesh blueprint from the one we've made. So if we go back to our models, I'm going to make a box. I'm going to go through the exact same process as last time. Create destructible mesh, enable impact damage. I'm going to change these from 4 to 6. Accumulate damage, world support debris timeout. I'm going to lower this down to 15. Enable debris. Make sure this -1 is changed to a 1. This will only have one material because it is a hollow box. So you don't need to worry about adding a new material to this one. But I'm going to press fracture. We've got the box, save it, close that out, move this box into the smashable objects. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on our destructible barrel blueprint, create a child of that class, and then this is going to be called Destructible box. And inside this blueprint, instead of the barrel, which is here, I'm going to go to here, select the box, and simply just drop it in here. And I didn't actually update it. Ha. If I compile, compile, save. Hopefully, if I drag it into the world, it does actually change to a box. So although it didn't change in the window, it has changed in here. But that's how simple it is to make a different destructible mesh into the same, using the same blueprint. So all you need to do is right click on the main one, create a child, and you could create whatever destructible mesh you wanted to. And that is as simple as it is, really. I've hoped to keep this one quite speedy. If you do have any questions, feel free to email me or ask me in class. Thank you very much for looking, and see you next time.